Right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. Superman has one reaction. Kind of, basically. So there was the premiere. The review embargo isn't up yet, right? They weren't allowed to release this, but the Daily Beast did release their review. They've since taken it down, but obviously this got out. Clearly, obviously. And the review is terrible. Superficial and silly. Terrible. And overstuffed as a movie. So, yeah, pretty bad. Pretty bad. We're going to dive into this. Okay, hit subscribe if you're new here. Do turn those bell notifications on. And let's take a look, shall we? So, the first review, the only review that is out. Again, the embargo isn't there, right? Like, they weren't allowed to release this. They published it and then took it down last night. Like, very, very, very quickly. And I don't know what's going to happen to them. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, they're not happy. I can't imagine Warner Brothers is happy. So the review embargo for Superman lifts next week. However, the Daily Beast inadvertently published its verdict last night. Not quite sure how you'd say inadvertently. I mean, that's a bit of a... It's a bit of a cock-up, isn't it, really? And while the site took it down pretty fast... It was up long enough to cause quite a stir among fans on social media. So, won't name and shame the critic, as the review's publication isn't their fault. However, they are well respected and have a history of writing for publications, including Variety and Esquire magazine. They're also no superhero hater, as the critic in question has positively reviewed the likes of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Thunderbolts. Alright, so, Warner Brothers are not going to be happy about this. The review begins by, the only review that's out, or has seen the light of day, and it's negative. God, Warner Brothers will be pissed. So the review begins by saying that the reboot resembles a Saturday morning cartoon that is overstuffed. It promises plenty of action, but adds that, quote, the film is so awash in over-the-top CGI insanity that its slam-bang mayhem loses its punch. Fair. I think that is fair. I think if you looked at the trailer, it did seem to be like that, so... yeah. The cast also doesn't receive much in the way of praise, while the review points out that David Corenswet looks the part. Compared to Christopher Reeve and Henry Cavill, quote, he comes across as relatively slight, a situation exacerbated by the all-over-the-place nature of his saga. So it sounds like Superman rarely lets up, as the movie reportedly asks audiences, quote, to hold on for dear life as it whiplashes about from one out-of-this-world locale and incident to another. Are we living in the saga of, like... TikTok and ADHD content now, where everything just has to be mental and all over the place to keep people's attention spans, because attention spans are massively on the decline. Like, attention spans are terrible in this day and age. So are we seeing like the first movie catered to young morons? I think we might be, but that's not good. That's not a good sign at all. There are also concerns that non-fans will find themselves adrift due to the movie's endless geekiness, with James Gunn's script accused of only feigning interest in actual emotion. Now, that's something which James Gunn had actually stated already, is that this movie has so many Easter eggs. So I can believe that... I can believe this. I can believe it. So the humour is said to be lacking, as is the relationship between Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Interesting, because they made a big point of that in the trailer. Nicholas Holt's performance is overshadowed by the haphazard plot, largely because, quote, Superman gets tangled up in fanciful nonsense that soon renders the entire affair superficial and silly. Oh, that's bad. Oh, it's a scathing review, isn't it? Most troubling is a comparison to Joss Whedon's Justice League. Oh, fuck. As Superman, quote, overpopulates itself with heroes and villains, it has neither the time nor the inclination to develop. people did say that this would happen when they, when they were saying how many characters were going to be. By the way, this isn't set in stone, guys. This is just one person's review. This doesn't mean that it's going to be terrible, right? Like, at all. I'm just reiterating what they're saying and commenting on the likelihood of it being true or not. So remember, when everyone was announced for this movie, all of the characters, there are a lot of characters in this movie. Like, that's not exaggeration, right? There's a lot of characters. And so when it was announced, people were like, yeah, that's a lot. I think you're going to struggle. And it was rumoured, floated around anyway, that this was a proof of concept to sell DC. That they were like, well, here's all these characters, here's a workable movie, here's a workable format, buy it off of us. That was the rumour. So to say, well, look, there's way too many heroes and villains, and they're not developed. I mean, I can believe that, simply because there are a lot of heroes and villains. And we know that, right? Like, that's not news. We know that there's all these characters in it. And due to the runtime, you're never going to be able to, and the quantity of them, you're never going to be able to develop them. So consequently, everyone and everything is two-dimensional. I guess that lends itself to the cartoon nature of it as well. No matter that the director's imagery is sharp and vibrant. And to top it off, the headline is, terrible new Superman is final nail in superhero cinema's coffin. Oh, that's fucking terrible. That is terrible. Wow. I think this is a I think this is like an archive version of the review. Superman's hero is no brooding Snyderian Christ figure. Rather, he's a sweet and sincere do-gooder. He uses the word dude, takes time out of fighting behemoths to save squirrels from harm, and believes that viewing everyone as beautiful is punk rock. That's weird. The same goes for Gunn's film, which is set on an Earth overrun by metahumans, the most powerful of which is Superman, who at outset crash lands in the Arctic after losing his first ever fight to an armoured adversary known as the Hammer of Boravia, a country whose attempts to start a war with neighbouring Jahanpur was recently thwarted by Superman. God, I mean, this is pretty bad. Following this battle, Superman wrestles with growing political and public outrage over his rash unilateralism and bristles at the nasty social media campaigns ruining his reputation. I don't think Superman would ever care about social media. What the fuck? He receives moderate support from Lois Lane. That's bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Everyone has doubts about the noble titan, including Green Lantern Guy Gardner, who dubs him a wuss for wanting to study rather than kill a fire-breathing Goliath, and who is partners with genius Mr. Terrific and warrior Hawk Girl in a trio he's desperate to dub the Justice Gang, and whose headquarters is the classic Super Friends Hall of Justice. Luthor is in league with the president of Boravia, whom he visits via portals through a pocket universe that he's created. Wow, what the hell? Damn its potential to beget a reality-destroying black hole, he's also determined to turn humanity against Superman by executing a scheme that raises nature versus nurture questions, and this tale doesn't seriously address. Jesus. Superman doesn't skimp on the high-flying action to a fault. The film... Wow, this is brutally negative. Superman doesn't establish its scenario so much as it situates viewers in media res and then asks them to hold on for dear life as you just go from one locale and incident to another. Oh, it's pretty bad. Yeah, this is pretty bad. Here's a little bit about the parents. So, DC comic diehards may delight in Superman's endless geekiness, but everyone else is apt to feel adrift, or at least along for a frenetic, flimsy ride that only feigns interest and actual emotion. Superman and Lois's relationship gets about as much attention as do sequences in which the Daily Planet reporter flies a spaceship, and interjected into the middle of a colourful chaos and madness, a trip back to Smallville to visit Ma and Pa Kent is too sketchy to generate shucks pathos. This is pretty bad. It delivers scant amusing one-liners or gags, save for cute crypto habit of excitably wrestling and licking Superman, or at least the least opportune moments. Jesus. With a chrome dome and a cockney sneer, Holt makes for a faithful Luthor. However, as with Brosnahan and Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen, who has a straining to be funny subplot involving Luthor's selfie-loving girlfriend Eve. This was in the test screening, so this just confirms the test screenings. Holy shit. His performance is overwhelmed by the material's endless sound and fury. Wow. Yeah, this is really bad. Looking ahead, rather than focusing on the here and now, this attempt at reimagining DC's movie series ultimately proves to be more of the same old interconnected universe bedlam that, at this point, is perilously close to going out of fashion. I mean, it is out of fashion. People are sick of it. Wow, that's bad. That's a bad review. That's a bad review. There you go. Now, this is just one person's review. Doesn't mean it is going to be bad, obviously. Could very well be, just as an FYI. Some of this does confirm what was in the test screening leaks. And that didn't sound great, to be honest. So, there you go. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Bye-bye now.